Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first of a new series that we're doing on behalf of the ValueCare Group. My name is Robert Davies, Operational Director of the ValueCare Group, and with us is our Chairman, Carl SantaCroff. Now, for those of you who don't know Carl, he's a sharp friend, sharp as a tack, as they say, but also he's got a caring side. He has spent his entire career trying to empower and strengthen the communities, especially that affect him the most of the BME community. And Carl brings with him a wealth of legal expertise, a wealth of healthcare acumen, and also some great financial background. So I don't know where to begin, Carl. Your banking, your legal directorship, your involvement in the Afro-Caribbean mental health and founding several other organisations, and also leading up to your tenure on the board of St George's Hospital. But I can tell you one thing, Carl. I can tell you and I can tell the audience that this is worth listening to. This is where it's at. If you want the latest, the raw news on healthcare, you want to hear it uncensored, unfiltered, this is where we're at. Over to you, Carl.
I always find it quite difficult, as we were talking some time ago about this subject, where to start, given my curriculum vitae, because life has not just been about a professional career in one discipline and then another, and then another again, 3 disciplines effectively. It's just circumstances and events kind of unfolded in such a way. It's like when there's war, conflict, you have no choice but to defend the interests of your loved ones and the interests of yourself. And so, I found myself as a young lawyer, first being propelled by law school in the very first academic term, getting us to grasp, first of all, the distinction between civil and criminal law, which is not as easy as you might first think, and especially for lawyers, because they need to determine whether a matter as a professional is a civil breach or a criminal breach. So that was the first thing that we had to uncover and deal with. And that took the whole of the 4 years of the degree course to get to any kind of confident place when it comes to making those kinds of decisions. And we also had to learn about all of the statutory and criminal prohibitions that society and the state lays down, necrophilia, for example. And we went into tremendous discussions about all these different things. And so for me, my first propelled thoughts as a young lawyer training was to grasp the greater understanding of the environment and the world in which I now see that I'm inhabiting in all kinds of ways. And so as a young lawyer, having clients who are exhibiting mental health problems and then talking to other lawyers and groups in Lambeth where I was worked, if they had encountered or seen any of these things, that it propelled me again to gather with other people, because I was already lobbying with Paul Boateng on policing in Britain, in London in particular, but in Britain generally, and to change the laws as it relates to suspects and stop and search and so on, and how it was kind of adversely affecting sections of the community in the same way that the kind of institutional kind of profiling that takes place within health, has to be addressed to prevent it from disadvantaging certain groups. And so I kind of was propelled to look at mental health from all kinds of perspectives in terms of training of doctors and psychiatrists and nurses and other support workers, social workers, lawyers and police, to change their kind of perspective when they encounter certain individuals in the community and have to deal with them, whatever the situation brings forth. And it was a battle because it meant lobbying, quite hard for resources as well as legislative changes. And so it meant that I had to kind of think about all of the kind of features that have changed dramatically the lives of certain groups of individuals who find themselves under the auspices now of the mental health services. And so it made you think about, gender. It made you think about class. It made you think about income. It made you think about the general economics as well as the social and cultural infrastructure that shape and determine people's outcomes in their lives when they have to face certain conditions. And these features are factors right across the board for every single person in society. But there are, of course, certain individuals who are disadvantaged by the whole panoply of different forces at work. And I think, the greatest thing, in my life is to see it come to a close where people like that are going to be supported and assisted and even empowered greatly for others, so that they could change the way that they are seen. In the same way that people with disabilities, have found themselves with the help of technology and individuals who campaign and lobby like myself, to find themselves now in a situation where they have power. One of the things I did, I went to work with a recycling company run and controlled by disabled people, the entire project. And it was incredibly successful and an eye-opening experience to see that people can suffer all kinds of disabilities, but still be empowered and enthused enough to want to create a life for themselves and put a few shillings in their pockets at the same time and make a good income.
I think it's such a very, very immersive understanding of some of the driving forces behind what you've done. But I think we're only scratching just a tad of the surface.
I'm afraid that's
You,
the case.
not even. I wish I could say honestly, it was a drop in the ocean, but that would be putting it as an understatement. It is immense. Some of the impact and influence you've had shaping the conversation around mental health, shaping the conversation around just criminal, and actually trying to understand the fundamental reasons behind why people have either committed the acts that they've did, or also why people, have gotten to where they are. And as you so rightly say, there's been so much over the years which has empowered people, but that has come with a great fight and a great cost. And I'd like to just understand a little bit more about some of the mental health aspects that you saw. But working as a lawyer in Lambeth with major names like Paul Boateng, and actually being, at the forefront of trying to change that conversation around around mental health, the legal aspect of it, and actually becoming a director, within Brixton Community Law, which Paul Boateng was, a junior under, and you kind of gave that push to him to kind of influence the national conversation. And would also like to understand a little bit more about you as a founding member of Afro-Caribbean Mental Health, which a lot of people in London, have used. And it is of great note, and I believe is actually under the wing of the local NHS trust down there. And of course, I think, one of the great things we will need to get stuck into